Hello out there once again to all my fellow Fix employees. Welcome back to another episode of How to Satisfactory 1.0. This is my brand new Let's Play series that also is more of a tutorial and guide for new players of the game. This is the first episode you're watching. I highly recommend starting from episode 1 so that you get a clearer idea of how things have progressed so far. Today we're going to continue building on to our starter factory here in the grassy fields. We're going to add a few more biomass burners over there for more power. Add on a new wing to the factory for copper. And we're going to unlock and work on one of our Tier 2 milestones, parts assembly. First things first though, we are going to be expanding the factory out today with more machines. More machines means more power. So we're going to add 2 more biomass burners to our power station section back here. This should be easy enough to do. I'm just going to kind of highlight the biomass burner here and click down on my middle mouse button. And then we'll just copy that and place it right here in line. And we'll do another one right next to that. Now we also need to get the solid biofuel into the biomass burners, so I'm going to remove our conveyor belt right here, copy one of our splitters right here, and we'll put that in front of our new biomass burner, and another one right here, but we're going to turn that one so the input is coming from our constructor, like so. Grab a conveyor belt, make sure we are on straight mode, and right into that one, and then we'll just connect up everything else. Biomass burners to splitters, and splitters to splitter. Don't forget to link all of them together down through here. Of course, our biomass burners also need to be connected to the power, so I'm going to grab one of our poles. Gonna hold it over top of the power line right there, and then we'll come over here and we'll put it right down in between these two, right on the line. And we'll do the same thing here. Connect onto that, and right there, and then power line to pole on both of them. That's now going to give us a total capacity of about 120 megawatts to play with. Alright, so now it's time to add on to our little starter factory here. We need to start making the wire and cable over here from copper. So I'm going to remove our miner right there first of all. So we're going to count 5 foundations back from the front. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and right here. This is going to be 5. So it should be directly in front of the copper node right here. We're going to take a 2-meter ramp, place one down and another one right next to that. We're then going to take a 1-meter foundation here on the bottom of the ramp, and we're going to zoop that out about 10. Do the same thing on the other ramp, all the way out to 10. Now what we want to do here is, if we're looking at the 2 ramps right there, we want to move this over this way by 1. So I'll add that and then go back. And then we'll go 9 up this way, like so. That's too far, so come back. There we go. So 9 foundations that way. And then we're going to come over here to the other side with this ramp. We're going to go 3 this way. So 1, 2, and 3. And then fill in the gap right here next to the ramps. And then we're going to do another 9 that direction, all the way down through here on all 3 of these foundations here. So 9 that way, another 9, and another 9. We do have a few trees in the way, so we'll take out our handy dandy chainsaw and get rid of those. So next we need to add on the miner to our node. I'm going to remove this foundation right here so we can kind of see the node there. Let's go ahead and grab a miner, and we're going to place it on top of the node, on top of the foundations right here. So right there, and then we'll turn that so the output is facing towards the east, like so. Make sure it's good and straight. Put that foundation back in there we took out. All right, so now we need to place down 5 constructors down on this side, running down that way. We're going to start 1 foundation away from the ramp, so right here and on this one. All right, and then I'm going to place our constructor down on the middle one right here, and we're going to make sure that it's all good and centered up right there, like so. We're going to skip a foundation. We're going to come down here on this one, and we're going to line that up. Same thing with the input, or I guess output, facing towards us right here. And then we're going to go a half a foundation over. So this is going to be in between these 2 foundations, like that. And then in the middle of the foundation here. And then we're going to do 1 more that's right in between these 2 foundations. So we should have constructor, 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 and then a space kind of in between. And that one. That's because this one here is going to be for cables. So I'm leaving all these to make like everything else that the copper needs. And then we're going to take and run the wire from this one around behind, and then this one's going to make our cable. Now, in order to produce our copper parts, we are going to first need some ingots, which means we're going to need smelters to turn the ore from our copper miner right here into the ingots. So I'm going to take and put our first one right, we'll do it right here, right in the middle of these two foundations right here. We want the output facing towards our constructors right there. And we're going to kind of line this up just a little bit in the middle. So we'll make sure it's between these two foundations here, which is about 2 foundations away from our miner right there. And then right here, I'm going to move it up 1 so that that little middle brace right there is right in front of this foundation link right here. It's right there. We'll take and put another one and line it up the same way right there on that one. On our second smelter, we're going to take and put a merger in right here in front of it so that the output is facing towards the east, like that, right there. Put some conveyor belts going from the smelters into the mergers, like that. Now we're going to take and put one splitter right here behind the first smelter right here. So right there, make sure it's good and lined up. Conveyor belt from splitter into our first smelter. And then from the splitter into our second smelter, like so. Going to run a belt coming from our splitter here going this way. Well, we're going to run this to right about the halfway point, maybe right here. Yeah, right to the halfway point between this foundation right here. And then let's link that into our miner right here. That leaves a nice space where it comes out, turns, and we got, you know, kind of a little area right here so we don't have a belt just kind of running all the way across and going over into that. That works pretty good. Like if I need to, I could probably take and put a couple more smelters down through here. And, you know, we could do that later on as well. Now we're going to turn our attention to our constructors over here. We want to place splitters behind every one of our constructors except for the last 2. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll place that, line it up directly in behind here with our input coming this way. Because what we're going to do is we're going to have that merger right there come down. We're going to run the belt over and across, come this way and into these splitters down the line here. So we'll place it right there. Another one in front of the second constructor. And one more in front of the third constructor right here. Then we're just going to link our fourth constructor up to that last merger right there, or splitter. And then we'll just go ahead and link all the other constructors up. Now we'll bring a conveyor belt coming out from right here in front of the smelters. We'll bring that to, say, right about where this line right here is. Right there. In between that. And then right into there. Now that's going to get all of the copper ingots we're smelting down the line. It's going to split in between all of the constructors we just made down through here. Now we're not going to do anything with this first constructor right here at the moment. I'm saving this for copper sheets, which we're going to get once we unlock the parts assembly. Instead, we're going to pay our attention to the second constructor, third and fourth one down here. And I'm going to go to the third one. We're going to place a merger right in front of here. And let's kind of line this up just a little bit. Maybe get it right about there. That works. Another one in front of the fourth one right there. And let's go ahead and connect all these up with belts. So there to there. Do the second constructor into that merger. Connect these two guys up. And then there to there. Next, I'm going to take and put a splitter right here in between this constructor and that constructor. Right there, right in line. Connect that up to there. And then we're going to take and put one of these outputs and come all the way over to here, behind, and into this constructor. And let's set this constructor up to make cable. So it's going to need 60 wire per minute in order to make our cable here. We're going to then set up constructor number 2, 3, and 4 to make wire. An easy way to do this is once you have one of them set up, you can then hit copy settings right there, or just highlight it and hit Control C, and you'll also copy the settings there. You can then go down to our next constructor here, configure it, and you can either choose wire or you can just highlight it and hit Control V, and you'll see it says settings pasted. That means we've copied that now, and it's now making the wire the same as this one. And then I'll just do the same thing down here on this last one. So now each of these constructors is now using 15 copper ingots to make 30 wire per minute. So we're going to be doing 30, 60, 90 wire down through here. It's then going to come to this one, and that is going to get split right here into, let's see, 45. But now 90 wire, that's a lot. And these are just Mark 1 belts that we put in here. So we need to make sure that we transfer these belts coming down through here over to Mark 2. You can just point at the Mark 1 belt here, and then middle mouse button click, and then hit E, and then hold it over top of that, and you can see it transforms that into the Mark 2. Once we get all of the belts in between all of these splitters down through here, or mergers, we don't need to worry about this one. This one can stay fine. It's 60. Remember, we're going to split 90 into 45 down through here. So now we just need to set this machine up here that's making our cable. And instead of making 30 cable per minute, which is using 60 wire, we know we're only going to have 45 wire coming into this. So we need to set the machine so that we're making or only using the 45 per minute. Just kind of messing around with it for a little bit, I can see that's going to be 75% clock speed. So we're going to just put in 22.5 right here. You can type into that box, so 22.5. Or you can type up here and put 75%, and you'll see now that that is going to have us, instead of using 60 wire per minute, we're going to be using 45 wire per minute, which is what we're getting. That's going to make this machine right here making our cable 100% efficient. All right, so now what I'm going to do is right here in front of the constructor making the cable, I'm going to choose a conveyor lift, and we're going to move that right here in front of it so it's lined up with all of our mergers and splitters and stuff down through here. Right there. Hit H. Make sure we can line that up just right. That does look good. All right, click it once, and then we're going to raise that up. Let's see. Let's go 1, 2. We're going to go 2 up from there. We're going to give it enough headroom here that we can have a conveyor belt going across right here, but also be able to walk around or under it. I'm then going to place another one right here next to that. But we're going to turn it so that it's coming away from our splitter right here. So right there. We'll nudge that over right up against that one. Click once, raise up twice, and then turn that going that direction. Run a belt from our splitter into the conveyor lift, like so. All right, so now we have everything on this side connected up and ready to go to start making our copper parts. But we need to get those parts that we're making into the storage containers down here. So what we're going to do, so I want to copy one of these conveyor lifts, come over here to the very edge right here of where the foundation is next to the ramp right here. So right there, place that down. We want to make sure that it is an input at the top. You can do so by hitting R. You can see that reverses the direction of our conveyor lift. So that does need to be an input up there. Go 2 up like so. We're going to place another one down right next to it. Same thing. Make sure that is facing that direction, and up 2. We're then going to take this foundation right here, delete it, copy one of these 2-meter ramps, place that right on the edge going down like that. We'll then take a conveyor belt and connect these 2 conveyor lifts up to these 2 conveyor lifts. So the first one right here will go into this first one right here. Make sure you have straight mode on. And then take our second one, bring it all the way over, connect it into this one. Now all the extra wire is going to come up, go over here into this one, and then the cable is going to come out, go into this one right here. We need to get these down in here. I'm going to grab a foundation, and we're going to stick it right on the edge of the ramp right here. We're going to go to that direction. Then we'll just bring a conveyor going down to the edge right here. Same thing here on that one. We'll line these up. You'll notice I'm leaving a space right here for another one of our conveyor lifts right here. This is going to be handling the copper sheets when we are actually making those, but for now we just have these 2 parts. So I'm going to take a conveyor belt, run it from where we left off here, bring it all the way down. We want it to go into this 3rd container right here. So I'm going to line it up right on the edge of this foundation like so, and then bring it down and into that box. Our conveyor right here, which is going to be our extra wire that we have for storage, is going to come down here. Let's turn it. Let's make sure it is going to line up to the second box right here. That looks good right there. And then from there into the box. And there we have it. And don't forget to connect our constructor here making the cable up to the conveyor lift. I never actually did that, so we'll go ahead and do that now. Now it's just a matter of getting power to everything. So we're going to start from right here where all of our biomass burners are. I'm going to then bring over a pole from here. I'll connect on power pole right there. Connect onto that line. Bring it down here to the edge right there. And then we'll connect over to this edge. And then all the way down to here, and we're going to bring it directly behind each of our constructors and connect all of these up. So from here, I'll put it, looks like that's going to line up to right about there. Then our next one down here, that is also going to be about the same spot. Doesn't have to be exact, just close enough. And then just do the same thing to the rest of the constructors down through here. Don't forget to connect the actual constructors to each of the power poles down through here, like this. Once your last constructor is hooked up, then going to go ahead and connect another power line from here. We're going to go all the way down to the edge of the foundations down here. And then from there, go all the way across over to this side. Then going to bring that from the edge down here to each of our smelters right here. So that looks to be right about there. And another one right here in front of this splitter right there. Connect up to the smelters from each of these poles from there to there. And then one more is going to come down here, and we're going to connect this one up to our miner right here on the edge. It looks to be right about the middle of this foundation, should probably do. From there to there. We can then run this all the way down here to connect back up to our concrete, because this hasn't actually been running the entire time. So we'll redo the power down here as well. So I'm going to run a pole from here over to the edge, connect that up to that pole right there. And then I'm going to run this behind the miner back here and then up to the miner. There we go. Concrete's back working again. Don't forget, we also need to tell our smelters that they need to be turning this into copper ingots. And there we have it. We are making 60 ore per minute. That's going down here to our smelters, which are taking half of that, 30 in each. So then we're making 30 ingots. So combined, 60 ore into 60 ingots. That's going to run across through here. It's going to get divided among all of these smelters, or constructors down through here. And then the 45 of our 90 total wire that we're making per minute is going to get divided up right here, run into this to make us some cable. And then our wire and our cable is going to go across and run down in here into our storage containers. All right, so now that we got all of our basics of our factory kind of going here, it's time to turn our attention to the next unlock, which is going to be parts assembly. So parts assembly is going to give us the assembler, which, as I have said previously in this series, will let us take two components, combine them into one. It's going to let us make these new parts right here, the rotor, modular frame, smart plating. Smart plating is for the space elevator once we get that built. But it's also going to let us make a new basic piece, the copper sheets. The assembler will also let us make the reinforced iron plates, which is what I want to do today. So I'm going to go ahead and select this as a milestone. We are going to need 200 iron rods, 500 screws, 300 plates, and 200 cable. So we should have all of this down here for the most part, probably except for the cable just yet, down here in our containers. So let's grab 500 screws, 200 rods, some iron plates, and let's see how many cables we've got so far. We've got 79, 80, so 105 total is all I got right now. So it's going to take us a little bit to get what we need, but in a few minutes we should have it. In the meantime, we can always grab out the chainsaw and get us some biomass. All right, once you have all the parts we're going to need, back to the terminal again. We're going to hold down control, click each of the items, throw these in there, and voila. Send off the materials and unlock parts assembly. And that's going to allow us to now build the assembler, which we are going to need next. However, we're going to need 4 rotors and 8 of the reinforced iron plates. So I'll go ahead and make my 8 reinforced plates first. And then now we can make one of the newest parts we just unlocked with parts assembly, the rotor, which is made from iron plates and screws. So we'll go ahead and make a few of those. And now we have everything we need to build our first assembler. So I'm going to come over here to the iron factory. And what we want to do is we want to put it on this side over here. And I'm actually going to place it down. I really kind of want to get it lined up with the other ones over here. But I'm kind of thinking we may just bring it over to here. So I'll put it right there, lock it down. And then let's move it forward a little bit. I don't think that's exactly where I want to do this. I want to move it all the way up some to here, maybe. Yeah, I don't hate this. All right, so we have the input coming in the back, and the output's going to go for the front. We'll then run it down and into a box down here. So I'm going to have it placed one away from the ramp and then right in between these two foundations. And then we'll put the front so that's almost right in the middle right there. Let me remove one of the foundations right here so I can kind of see what we're doing. This should probably work. So we'll take a conveyor lift, put it down on that, and well, that wasn't really what I was hoping for right there. Not a problem. We'll move it forward a little bit. Make sure the conveyor lift is turned the right way. So right there. And then we'll move it this way. We'll hit R to reverse the input. So it's now going into that. Yeah, that works. I like that. We'll put our foundation back. Connect our conveyor belt to the conveyor lift. We'll come back here to the back. And we'll throw two of these guys in here. So one conveyor lift on each side here. Going down. And we'll turn it that way. Throw another one back here. Let's see if that's going to work out. Yeah, that's perfectly fine right there. Alright, so then we'll set up the assembler to make the reinforced iron plates, and we can see now that that's going to need 30 iron plates per minute and 60 screws per minute. Alright, so we'll plop down here to the logistics floor so we can get our input. So first of all, we know that we need 30 iron plates. Well, each of our machines making iron plates is making 30 iron plates. So really what we should probably do is something like this. Let me slide under to the other side. We'll remove this conveyor belt right here. And we'll just have one of these machines feeding directly into our assembler right there. I do need to get it to the other side though, while going over top of these screws and the rods and things here. So let's see. I think the best route to do this is we need to raise the belt a little bit, but not too much because then it'll be in the ceiling. So I'm going to place down a foundation here. Make sure Zoop is on. We'll run it 2 over that direction. Put in our conveyor belt right here. We'll move it, let's see, to maybe halfway across this foundation. We'll move it up to right on the edge of that. And then we'll run it across these belts here. And then I'll place another foundation over here on this side like that, going this direction. And then let's see, let's remove this because that's not going to work for us. And then put another one over here. We'll do it to right there. Should work, I think. Let me find out here. Yep, that actually worked perfectly. And then we'll run it down the edge here. Run it down and in. We can then delete those foundations we placed here. And the conveyor poles temporarily. And I know it's just kind of, now we have floating conveyor belts, which isn't ideal, but we can fix these later. Alright, and now we have our iron plates going over top of the other two components here and going directly into our assembler up there. Now, next thing is going to be some screws. So we can directly get our screws right here. So I'll take this conveyor splitter here, and I'll hold down Control to make sure that it is going into our assembler right here. As you can see, we have the line going in right there. And now you can see why I spaced these apart so evenly right down through here. It's because I knew eventually I would be putting some splitters and mergers and stuff down here in between the lines. So I left enough space previously when we did the iron factory over here in this logistics floor so that we could place down the splitters and stuff on the conveyor belts. We'll finish this off with a conveyor belt into this input here for the conveyor lift. Now we need some power to this guy, so we are going to do this. We'll run a power cable down from the machine to the edge here of this. Let's see, that looks like that's going to go right about here. I'll then run it all the way down to the other end of the factory. Because of the wall here, I can't exactly place it. Well, actually, maybe I can. If I hit H, can I move it over? What if I hold Control down? Nope. Nope. Okay, well, that's as close as I can get it to the wall. So there we go. And then connect that to that. All right, so now we have power going to the assembler. We should have the parts going up to the assembler. Yep, looks like it's getting all the screws and plates it needs, although we're probably not going to be getting enough screws. We're probably only getting 50 screws per minute because we're making 100. And that 100 divided by 2 is 50, so we're getting 50 screws per minute. However, if we underclock this down to 83%, we're going to be making 4.15 reinforced arm plates per minute, and that needs 49.8 screws. We could probably get a little closer to 50 if we wanted to, but I think that works right there. We will also save a little bit on power and should be able to get it at least 100% efficient. All right, so now we're making the reinforced arm plates, but where are we going to put them? So we got a total of 7 storage containers down here, and every single one of them is being used. Screws, rods, regular iron plates, concrete, cable, wire, and then that's going to be for our copper sheets over there. So here's what I propose to do to fix this. Let's go ahead and remove the concrete container and the belt. Let's go ahead and throw another storage container in here that is facing the same way that all the other ones are here. So we'll turn it so that the input is on this side. All right, so we'll come over here to the other side. I'm going to copy yet another container, and we'll bring this out to right about the edge there and make sure it's in the middle. And I'm going to lock that down. Let me go behind it here, see if I have enough space to kind of walk around. Yep, I don't hate this. All right, so we'll put our storage container right here, run our conveyor belt for our concrete into this one, and now we can grab our concrete from this box, but we can come down here and grab everything else out of this. Now, this middle container that we just placed in here to replace the concrete one is now free for our reinforced arm plates, but we got to get those up there now. So we'll put a few more foundations in right here to kind of match everything. Come over here to where the copper is coming in at. Let's go ahead and place down a 1 meter foundation here on top of this, right in front of that container. And yeah, that should work pretty good right there. But I want to have this turning so that it's going that way. So let's remove the conveyor lift right here that's attached to the assembler upstairs. Let's place down a new one. So that is going to be coming down from, let's see, it's going to be right here in the middle. Hit H to lock that, and let me see here. Is that going to work for us? I think it will. So I'll place that down there, turn that direction. Up top, you can see the arrow going in. Yep, and here comes our plates down. All right, so now we're just going to run this to the edge of the ramp right here, the same as all the other conveyor belts are. We'll run it up to the top of the ramp here. Let's go to the middle of this foundation and then one more to right about there. And then we're going to run that to the top of this guy right here. And then we'll run that to the edge of the box here where it's going into this container here, which looks to be right about there. And then down and into our container. All right, and here comes all of our reinforced arm plates we've been making, ready to go into storage. All right, another thing we unlocked with parts assembly is the ability to make a new copper piece, the copper sheets. So that one constructor that we left down here, it's not doing anything right now. Let's come down here and let's tell it to make copper sheets. All right, so now you can see here we're taking 20 copper ingots to make 10 copper sheets. However, that right there is an issue, cause so we're making 60 copper ingots per minute, but we have 3 constructors that are making wire right now, and all 3 of these are making 15. So that's 45 right there just between those. That only leaves us another 15 copper ingots to use in here. So we need to move this down so it's only using 15 per minute. So we're going to underclock this guy here. If we go down to a clock speed of 75% and make 7.5 copper sheets per minute, then it uses 15 copper ingots, and that's perfect. All right, so now we just need to get the copper sheets we're making out of the constructor and into storage. So let's take a conveyor lift. I'll place it right about here so we can hit H to nudge things around a little bit. We want to get it right in the middle there so it's lined up with all the other splitters and lifts and stuff down through there. So right about there should work. Click once, then turn it so it's going down that direction. Raise it up twice. Make sure that the output is at the top right there. If you need to, you can hit R to reverse that. Let's throw our conveyor belt from the constructor into the lift. Now we're going to come down here to the other side where these 2 right here are, and we're going to place another one down right next to these 2, like so, and raise that up like that. This time we will need to hit R to reverse that as an input at the top. All right, let's go ahead and attach our conveyor belt to that lift right there. We're going to bring that down to the other side of our miner right here. I wanted to put it here. However, I just noticed that because of where I placed this machine here, I actually have an issue here with this. So the only way to fix it, I could have it come out and go this way, but I'd have to move all of this over one. And the other option is I could just come over here and move that over top of this that way, which is what I think I'm going to do. So let's go ahead. We'll turn that. We'll put that right about there. We'll raise it up 3 times so it matches the level of the other conveyor belts. Then connect to that belt there. Move it over here, and we'll just bring it over to the other side of the miner right here. Raise it up again 3 times. Now we should just be able to connect straight in from the conveyor lift right there over to the belt. And yeah, that works pretty good for me. We can take and put another conveyor pole on the other side here just to make it kind of look like it's being held up better, like that. I can also throw some of these stackable conveyor poles here. 3 of those stacked up top there. We'll hold that on that side. And you know what? That doesn't look terrible. Wasn't the way I wanted to do it, but it'll work for now. All right, so then we'll connect the conveyor belt from the conveyor lift right here going under into our boxes. So we'll connect that. And then we can't really place it here very well because of this dirt mound that's in the way. However, if we bring it out until it does snap to the foundation, hit H, then we can then nudge it back until it lines up with that one right there, making everything an even slope right there. Then we'll bring this around until we put it right in front of the box right there on the edge, and then connect into the storage container. And now we have all the parts we're making flowing into our storage containers. So I think one change I'm probably going to make here, and I'll probably do it off screen, is probably going to be taking this constructor right here, moving it over to, I don't know, just a little bit over to the side here, so that I can bring all this other stuff down through here and then just bring this line all the way down. We can match all of these right up going across. We'll have 3 belts in a row instead of having this one kind of split going over top of the miner here. And just basically I'm going to make myself a little bit more space to get that to go over this way with everything else. It's totally not something that you guys have to do though. It's just the OCD in me being like, I need to fix this. When I originally placed all this down where I didn't really think about this part right here, the miner going up and down, and I thought I could just bring the belt over this way and I would have room. But yeah, there's an animation part that goes up and down right there, and it will go through the conveyor belt if I put it there. So everything needs to come back just a little bit. With our 4 biomass burners that we have here, I don't think we are going to be using the 2 biomass burners connected to the hub anymore. I'm going to go ahead and remove this power pole out of our way here. So I was checking to make sure that all of our machines are being 100% efficient here. And I was looking at this assembler, and I'm noticing it's at like 79 to 81%. And reason for it is we got plenty of screws in there, but we don't seem to be getting enough plates, and I couldn't figure out why. I was like, we only need 24.9. We're making 30, right? So I come over here, and then I forgot that we're not making 30. We're only making 20. So in order to fix this, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this merger right here that is on this line, and we're going to hit E and turn that into a splitter. Hold down Control, and we'll replace that merger with the splitter, like so. And then I'm going to put a merger on this side. We'll line it up to that right there by holding down Control. Run a belt from here into here. That will then split some of these plates down through here. So if this one's making 20, then 10 should be going over this way. And it should back up because we're already making enough here. So this entire line, once it gets backed up, won't be feeding from here. And that's essentially going to be all of the excess iron plates are going to be going into the storage, but we should get more than enough that we need to feed the assembler over here now. All right, so here we go. This is our beginning starter factory right here. Everything's set up that we need to be making right off the bat. We could probably set up another assembler to do rotors, which I might do in the future. But really, the next time, I think I want to talk about one of our next upgrades, which is going to be the resource sink right here, which gives us the awesome sink, the shop, the build gun. I'll probably go into that for customizing in the next video. Now, that's going to do it for today's video. Hope you all are taking away something useful with each episode as well as being entertained. If you are enjoying the series, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you aren't already, click the subscribe button so that my new videos will show up in your YouTube feed, and that way you don't miss them. Sharing the video with others on social media would also be a great help too, as I'm getting very close to over 12,000 subscribers here on the channel, and it's all thanks to my awesome fans out there like you. For now though, thanks everybody, and wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and I'll see you next time.